Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Larry again. Today I am doing another yeast starter video. Now I say another because I've done a previous one on how to make a yeast starter. I'll put a link in the cards or in the description down below. But that was a single step starter where I would take a yeast pack, add some wort, and multiply the yeast overnight, and I would use it the following day for brewing, and that was great. And that's good for low gravity to medium gravity beers, smaller batches like 5-gallon batches of beer, and ales basically, right? But what if you want to do high gravity brewing, large batches, or even lagers, like I had to do just recently, and this is why I'm doing this video, is that I needed to make a much larger yeast starter. So what I'm going to show you here is basically a multi-stage or multi-step starter that grows over a period of days and multiplies itself. So if you're interested in any of those reasons for making a high gravity lager or a larger batch beers, well, keep watching and I'll show you how to make a yeast starter for them. There we go. Give it a little shake and let it rise. What I have here is 1 quart of water and 3.5 ounces by weight of dry malt extract. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that in there. Now I'm going to add about a ½ teaspoon of some yeast nutrient. Then I'm going to stir it in to mix it all together. And the clumps that form that aren't unclumping, that's okay. When you heat it up, it'll start to unclump on its own as long as you stir it. So go ahead and turn on the heat and get this to a boil. All right, now it's at a boil. So I'm going to just turn the heat down a little bit and keep it at a boil for at least 10 minutes, maybe upwards of 20 minutes. Different sources say different things. I split the difference usually and just go for an even 15-minute boil. After 15 minutes, I'm going to take it off the heat. Then put the pot in a sink or bowl like this full of ice water to chill it. I put the lid on to keep the germs and bacteria out while it chills, and we'll come back and change the ice as often as you need to. Okay, it's cooled off now. I checked the temperature off camera here, and it was actually in the low 60s, a little colder than I originally planned on. I actually just wanted it to be room temperature. So let's go on to the next step. So what I have here is a sanitized half-gallon jug and a little sanitized funnel to help me pour this in. Just like that, and that was a good thing to splash it in there. See how it's all bubbly? We need to aerate this to get oxygen back into the wort so the yeast can work on it and grow and multiply and have good health. So that was good to splash it in like that, but I want to give it a good shake also. So let's go ahead and just give it a shake. There we go. Now I'm going to make sure I sanitize the outside of the yeast package as well as the scissors. I'm going to cut the package and give it a little swirl to mix it up. And I'm going to pour it right in there. Then put an airlock on it. What I had to do here, sometimes I still do this once in a while, not all the time, is that I have to sort of hold down the stopper and the airlock from popping out of the jar. So I tape it down with some masking tape right here. It's a real expedient. You know, you can use anything to hold it down, but masking tape works pretty well. Wrap it around, hold it down. I put the yeast starter someplace warm in your house, you know, in the kitchen, on top of the stove, someplace, you know, room temperature. It gives the yeast more time to multiply, and we'll come back to the next step. One thing you want to try to do whenever you think about it while it's fermenting is to swirl it up and keep swirling it into solution, because the yeast will settle out as it starts to poop out and fall to the bottom. And so every so often just give it a swirl, get it back in this solution, just like that. This is what you get after about 24 hours of the yeast going along here. It's still bubbling a little bit overhead here in the airlock, and there's a few bubbles still on top here. It's cloudy, it's still got some activity. I've been swirling it every few hours to keep the yeast in suspension, but it is time to now double the size of the starter by adding what I just boiled off to the same jug, and I'm going to raise it up from about here to about here. So about 24 hours later or more, it's time to double the batch size here for my starter. So I have another quart of water here, another 3.5 ounces of malt extract, and another half teaspoon of yeast nutrient. And there goes the yeast nutrient. Turn on the heat. And stir it in. Bring it to a boil. Same thing as before. Chill it like before. Put the airlock back on, tie it down. Just like that. Now give it a swirl. And let it go for another 24 hours, stirring it every few hours. Now it's time to double the batch again. So I have 2 quarts of water in here. I'm going to put 7 ounces of the malt extract in here and a whole teaspoon of the yeast nutrient. And of course, boil it again for another 15 minutes. And chill it again. Alright, it's cool off and time to pour it in. Now I'm going to take the yeast starter from before, I'm going to add it to this. Then give it a swirl. Put the stopper back on and fasten it down again. And here's the result. So it's just under a gallon's worth, and there's still some fermentation still going on, but it's pretty much starting to settle out, and I have a nice little yeast cake on the bottom, and I can go ahead and use this in my beers, either by decanting off the top and use what's down below, or you pour the whole thing in. Just give it a nice big swirl and swirl it all back in the solution and then pour the whole thing in. It's really up to you, and it may be on the type of beer that you're making. By this point, you have enough yeast now to make that lager, the high gravity ale, or that larger batch of beer. So good luck. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out other videos on my YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe.